Pleasure and an honour today to have this guest with me. His name's Charlie Freak, and I've followed many different conspiracy alternative news people on the internet for many years. And when Charlie came onto the scene, he was like a breath of fresh air, because it's like when he's talking, I find it to be, you know, hardcore truth basically, and as he would say, maybe holistic truth. So he doesn't just come in at it from like an angle of these are bad guys, you know, 1984's upon us, you know, rise up and no real solutions. Charlie's kind of a more, you look at the health side and what you're eating and meditation and puts it all together. So it's more hopeful, first of all, you know. So anyway, I'd like Charlie to introduce himself and give a bit of background, and then take it from there, Charlie.
Hi, Billy. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Of course, Colleen and I are very much fans of what you're doing as well. It's beautiful. We again, what we need is the truth. That's what we say. People say that you need love, sweet love, and love will heal all. No, what we need is the truth, the holistic truth, because the holistic truth encompasses everything. So love is built in. The rewards of our work are built in to the work we do. So whether you're goodly, godly of the right-hand path, or you're a demon running amok of the left brain, the left-hand path, your rewards, the rewards that you will reap in your life, they are built in. That's God's creation. That's our reality. The rewards that you do are built into the work. So God is kind of our big theme and message, but it, of course, is not the God that organized religion has attempted to spin to you, that it's some white, angry old guy with a beard in the sky who murders people, rapes innocent women and children, executes the firstborn of every household. I mean, the Bible, if you read it literally, is an absolute shit show. And God is the most horrific creation ever. But when you understand the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, all of these sacred spiritual texts are beautiful. And they're all telling the same story. They're all related. This is all same cast of characters because they're talking about us. And when you read it allegorically, then suddenly it all makes sense, because God, who created all, isn't ever asking anyone to kill one of his creations. Nope, never happened, not once. This idea of killing the firstborn male within every family is simply an allegory for thought. What did Jesus say again and again and again in Matthew 6:22? If thine eye be single, thy whole body will fill with light. It's all part of this miraculous, beautiful Gnostic expression in the book of Matthew, Luke. The whole New Testament is fabulous if you know how to read it. And so after Christ Jesus says in Matthew 6:22, if thine eye be single, your whole body will fill with light, he then proceeds to say, take no thought 5 times. Why 5 times? Because we must crucify. How many wounds did the Christos suffer upon the cross before he died? Again, the concept of the crucifixion in the hands and the ankles, and that's 4, but it required a spear thrust into the rib, the 5th wound, because it's killing the 5 physical senses. And the 5 physical senses are ruled over by the moon goddess, whose name is sin. And that's our emotions. And when we live out of the left brain, we're carnal monsters ruled over by our emotions. And we need to become Spock. We need to go within. We need to slow our breathing down, and we need to be reasonable, and we need to reflect upon things. We do not rush into judgments ever. And this is all about the right hemisphere of the brain versus the left hemisphere of the brain. When you go to the right, the 90% is the realm of God. When you go to the left brain, that's only the dying brain, the 10%. That's what all of these allegories are about, tithing in the Bible. You got to give 10% to the church. No, it never says that. It says Melchizedek talks about 10% to God. Never mentioned. Jesus told you, stay away from the churches. Don't even look at them. It's 10% to God, but it's the 10% of your brain. That's the left brain. Take no thought. Jesus says that again 5 times after let thine eye be single, because you must kill all 5 of your physical senses, the left brain, where you're manufacturing thought, where we get it all wrong because our minds are filled with lies. Everything is a lie. If your great fans and followers are not there yet, they need to get there now. There's nothing. You have so many of these truthers, Billy, that will go, yeah, that Charlie Freak, he's right, that they're lying about it. Of course, they're not lying about the earth being round and spinning in 5 different directions, wobbling, tilting, and being dragged across the universe at over 1 million miles an hour, but we feel none of it. And everyone in Australia is hanging upside down, including those trillions of liters of heavy salt water. No, that's true. Everything else is a lie. And of course, eating animals and, eating that, killing them living beings to eat acidic meat, dairy, and egg, that's true. But everything else is a lie. Dinosaurs, well, of course, those are real too. So it's hilarious. No, you need to get to the point now that, especially with all the Q stuff and this lockdown that's going on, the coronavirus. Oh, the coronavirus. Wow. Afraid of the boogeyman. The boogeyman's going to come and get us because what did Stevie Wonder say in the song Superstition? When you believe in things that you don't understand, when you believe in the things that you don't understand, then you'll suffer, because superstition ain't the way. And a virus is not living. It's a secretion inside of you to heal you, to get rid of antibodies, to get rid of pathogens. And it can't escape your body and then miraculously come alive in somebody else. It's insanity. It's insanity. It's all a big lie. So everything is a lie. You need to accept that they're teaching you everything is a lie. Then what's the opposite of that? That we exist and we are powerful and beautiful and strong beyond description, because we're the mirror image of God's creation. We're God's creation. What did God say to Moses in the Bible, Billy? Moses said, as they were inhaling some of that burning bush, that fabulous cannabis burning, God's favorite incense that he says in the Old Testament, cannabosum. Cannabosum is cannabis. God says to light the cannabosum and keep it lit in your temple all day long. Cannabis, right? This the holy sacred sacrament. It's beautiful. And so we heal ourselves through these natural things, and they're all provided for us freely in abundance in nature and within us. Old Santa Claus, the sainted claustrum that exists at the back of your head, is in charge. The claustrum is in charge of production of all of your blood cells, all of your corpuscles, the production of all of your organs. It's in charge of your endocrine system, which is your beautiful subtle system, which is magnetic, which is elegant design beyond description. A drop of melatonin here, a little serotonin there, a little dopamine here. It's just fabulous beyond description. And that's all the claustrum. And the claustrum is considered sacred because the secretions produced by the claustrum are sacred and saintly. And this is how the sacred saintly claustrum became Santa Claus. And that's why Santa Claus wears red. Why is Santa all dressed in red? He produces our blood. He produces our corpuscles. He produces our organs. It's all red. And then why does Santa have white trim all around him? Well, because Santa is saintly. And white is the purity of God, God's creation. Where does the mercy seat that actually exists, it's all on all of these medical encyclopedias that you can get from a store that tell you all about science. Where does the mercy seat exist? The mercy seat exists right above the claustrum. And right below the claustrum and the mercy seat is a tube. And this tube called the foramen runs all the way from the claustrum into the very center of your existence, your soul, the seat of your soul, which is the third ventricle of the brain, your third eye, the optic thalamus. And it's a little tunnel. It's a chimney. It's a chimney. And this is where all of Santa's wonderful secretions, like viruses, Santa Claus produces viruses within you to heal you. If the neurotransmitters tell Santa that you've got foreign pathogens in your body, it first tries to get rid of them with a release of histamine. Histamine, it's now been demonized. You could die, don't take histamine, you don't want anything to, oh my God, it's beautiful, it's natural, it's produced within your body as soon as the neurotransmitters tell that there is a pathogen. Do you know what a pathogen means? Pathogen simply means dis-ease. If there's a dis-ease with you anywhere, dis-ease, ill at ease, not at ease is what disease is. If there is a disease anywhere, the first thing that Santa Claus does is he releases histamine. The histamine then tells the bones to produce more of and release and secrete those beautiful white blood cells, those pure, holy white blood cells from the bones, and they then rush. That's why the area where the histamine is released, you get redness, and sometimes you can even get a little inflammation in that area. It's because you just have so much of this new blood that's being produced, filled with white blood cells. And they're just designed to examine and extract whatever this pathogen or this disease is and make you whole again. But because we eat the wrong foods, we're frugivores, that's 100% inside and out. It's not 99% or 98%. This isn't my opinion. Do your own research. We are 100% frugivores. And a frugivore is the exact opposite of a carnivore. Coronavirus, carnivore. Coronavirus is a perfect anagram for carnivore. It's the exact opposite of what we are, frugivore. Frugivores are raw fruits, vegetables. We live eternally. We can live forever in these forms because all we are cells, and cells just keep regenerating when you don't kill them. We are being poisoned from birth, mostly because we're pretending to be carnivores, which is the exact opposite of a frugivore. So when our white blood cells are strong and saintly and whole from good old Saint Nick, and he releases them within our system, it'll heal everything. We don't need a virus. We don't need anything else. But because we're sick to begin with and we don't produce enough white blood cells and they're not strong enough, then Santa needs something stronger. And that's what a virus is. A virus is nothing more than a secretion from the claustrum that goes into your bloodstream, and it seeks out these pathogens. And what it does is very clever. What viruses do, they make themselves appear to be like whatever the pathogen is. So the pathogen then groups naturally to this virus. Then what does the virus do? Makes for the first exit, and out your body it goes, and that's it. And that's why a virus can't be contagious, can't be airborne, because it's not alive. To be alive, it would have to be cellular. Go again to any medical dictionary. The definition of life means that you have a cellular level and that your cells are alive, breathing, respiring, eating, excreting, and multiplying or dividing. And they even admit this because they'll say that the virus can't do anything until it comes in contact with living human cells. And then you got to be careful, because then it's hell to pay once they get attached. Well, if it's dead and it's made inside of a human being, specifically for that human being, how does it get to you and suddenly become alive? They never explain that part because they can't. It's just like all their wonderful theories, they can't ever explain them because none of them are true. So
this whole thing then is obviously a massive hoax, and people are buying into this because they don't know the simple thing. One question I've got on that is, though, sometimes you're in a house and you've got a cold, and then somebody also catch the cold in the house, and it would appear that they've caught it from you. So how would you explain that?
Right, because that's bacterial based, and that can be contagious. In other words, that's an infection. A virus is not bacterial based. This is a creature from Santa Claus, and it's not alive. So that's the difference. So there are such things that can be contagious, but those, of course, are bacterial based. And even modern science doesn't attempt to hoodwink you with the fact that a virus is a bacteria. They separate the two because they want to hit you over both sides of your head and scare the dickens out of you with a double whammy. But it's just ignorance. That's the state of our world. What does the Bible teach? The Bhagavad Gita teach? What do they all teach? That what we see outside of us is a perfect reflection of what we've created inside of us. So if we haven't done any work inside of ourselves and we're ruled over by fear, that's the world out there. So we change the world out there by taking care of the one thing that we can, which is us. I have no power over you, Billy, and I don't want power over you or anybody else. You're beautiful, unique, and wonderful, and bless your creativity and your independent spirit. That's so important. The only thing that I have power over is me, and I need to be the best version and form and the strongest, healthiest version form of myself, so that I can then share all of this with everybody else. That's why Collywog and I do the work. That's why we work so hard to put oil in our lamp.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at quite a lot of your stuff, so what you're talking about I can relate to. I've seen the picture of the inside of the brain, where you explain Santa Claus and all the mechanisms of that. There's also something else. You talk about raising the chrism oil. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, a podcast that we just did yesterday with Santos and Josh X went into this. What we call this is, and it builds off of the shows that we and on our own channel with regard to this, how everybody's got veganism upside down, and it's sad because people are saying, I tried to be a vegan, it doesn't work, and I'm going back to meat, dairy, and eggs because being a vegan. No, they don't even know the first thing about what being a vegan is. That's why we're calling it the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is inside you. You have 4 rivers, just like what it says in the Bible, the 4 rivers of that are flowing, eternally flowing in the Garden of Eden. That's all inside of you. The 4 rivers that you have inside of you are your blood, is your urine, is your saliva, and then your cerebral spinal fluid, the CSF, that flows independent of the blood that flows in your spine. And most people don't know this, but the CSF is made up of, or there's 2 things, predominant things that flow within the CSF, within your spine, and then up. The spine connects up through the blood-brain barrier into the ventricles. Now, there are 4 predominant ventricles within the brain. Ventricles are basically just like little rivers, little canals of fluid. Okay, and this is all CSF fluid. So there's no blood related to these ventricles. And the fluids that are in the CSF, the cerebral spinal fluids, are your semen and the chrism oil. Now, the chrism oil is produced in every single human being from approximately the age of 12 onwards, once every month. Whoa, wait a minute, Charlie. Did you say month? Do you mean month? Yeah, but a month is a month. Get it? They just took the second O out. And now we only have 12 months when there are 13 moons, right? Our entire calendar is supposed to be based on the sun and the moon. So the sun, what does the sun do? The sun teaches us one day. And during the day, there's no such thing as hours and seconds and minutes. We have generalizations. We see the sun rising, so we have a general idea what the time is. And then we see the sun midday, gives us a good indication. We see the sun westering, dying, going to the west is always a reference for dying. The sun, and then set, darkness, sun, light. sun light, set darkness. This is the whole Egyptian story of Horus and Set, and they battle every single day. Horus is the light of the world. Horus, of course, is Christ Jesus, is the Christos, is the chrism oil within you. And it's light, and then Set is darkness. So that's all it is. 12 hours, 12 and 12, balance, homeostasis, duality, it's all perfect. And so the chrism oil is Jesus Christ, is the light of the world, is the sun, and it's the Son of God, which is the sun in the sky, which is also the sun within you, the optic thalamus, that very center third ventricle of the brain. And so this chrism oil is what flows inside the your spine, the CSF, but also your semen. And your semen is purely white for a reason, because it's pure, it's your essence. Your semen is your essence. And when this is going to be way out there for some people on the podcast, but get ready for it, because I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you right now. When you ejaculate your semen out there, you're killing yourself. That's why they teach it. And if everything's a lie, that's a lie too. And why do you think they push pornography in your face? And why do you think those shots of men blasting out their semen are the big thing with regard to pornography? Because that's what they're trying to tell you is normal. They're trying to get you, because it's your essence. And if you just stop and consider this, it makes perfect sense. Your essence is your semen. That's how you procreate. Your entire code of who you are is in that. And what happens after we have an outward ejaculation? You kind of feel tired. And then a lot of people don't feel really good about themselves and actually can fall into a depression. And there's a lot of people that actually just physically don't feel right and can't literally even move around very much after they've done it. Nobody seems to want to equate the fact that maybe we shouldn't do this. And when we don't, when you experience beautiful sex, loving sex with your partner, that is not carnivorous, that's not taking and hurting and I don't know love and I just want. When you're giving and receiving, when you're creating beautiful light and you ejaculate inwards, you control the spasm. What do they call when we ejaculate our semen? They call it an orgasm. Or is gold. Or is gold. So orgasm is golden spasm. You do not want to be ejaculating your golden spasm. You are golden. We are gold. Joni Mitchell told us that. We got to get ourselves back to the garden. Yeah, the Garden of Eden, which is inside you. That's what she's saying. Everything is inside you. We are golden. We are starlight. That's exactly right. So when you ejaculate your semen out, you're killing yourself. So those are the four rivers. That's the essence. And what do they all have in common, Billy? Your urine, your saliva, your blood, and the CSF, which is the semen and the chrism oil. They're all saline solutions. They're all massively alkaline substances. Now, what's meat, dairy, and eggs? Acidity beyond what you can possibly imagine. And that's not even taking into account the fact that you're murdering a living sentient being that has a husband, that has a child, that has free will, has a choice, just wants to live, just wants to love, just wants to be happy. And you're automatically taking that away because you need to eat. That's insanity. That's insanity. A mango falls naturally from a tree. Pick it up and eat it. If you don't, it goes back into the earth and it produces more. And if we don't eat fruits falling from the trees, we'll be overrun by fruit trees because all they do is produce more and more and more, telling us we're supposed to eat them, or we'll be overrun by mango trees, which would probably be a pretty good thing. They're so amazing. This is our reality, Billy, and nobody wants to make these connections that what we are supposed to be alkaline beings. So we are salt. God, Jesus talks constantly within the Bible about ye are the salt of the earth. And when Lot's wife could not stay focused on the path of the straight and narrow above her when they were leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, and she had to look back. She turned to a pillar of salt, because that's essentially what we are. And if you look at what we are, I said earlier, we're just cells, right? Do you know what the basis of every one of our cells are when we die and our blood begins to dry up? Do you know what is left at the very end of our blood? Are the 12 essential salts, the essential salts that are comprising each blood cell. What we are is a saline solution, and a saline solution is alkaline. And that's why we have to become alchemists. And that's why Al, because he's Al the chemist, alchemist. Al the chemist is Al Claus, and he was knighted because his work is so saintly. Saintly Claus, Santa Claus, and he has a first name, Al the chemist. We have to all become alchemists and allow Santa Claus to do the perfect job that he does inside of us all the time. And that's what he does. He brings us presents. That's a real present, because it makes you healthy in the moment. Present is now. Awareness, now. Consciousness, now. The linear time is a hoax, Billy. It doesn't exist. It's a construct we've agreed upon so that we can show up to work on time. Who does that benefit? Time, linear time does not exist. We're going earlier about, I got off track on that, I apologize, with the sun and the moon and the calendar. But the sun teaches us a day, a solar day, and the sun teaches us a solar year. That's what the sun does, a day and a year. The moon teaches us cycles, 4 weeks. And that's a month. That's where the word month comes from. They just took the second O away so that you wouldn't piece it together. There are 13 28-day cycles of the moon. 13 times 28, 364. That leaves one and a tiny little bit left over, which is perfect, which is absolutely perfect. People say, well, if that's what you're saying is true, Charlie, then how come it doesn't work out to 365? Well, it's an uneven number. 364 is an even number. 13 moons of 28 days, with the beginning of these wonderful cycles within us being on the 21st and the 22nd. 21st ending, the last light of the 21st day is the ending of one cycle. The first light in the morning of the 22nd is always the beginning of a second cycle. That's how the astrological signs and the bodies in the sky all work. On the 21st and 22nd, always is how it relates. And it works perfectly in a system of 28 days within a month. And that's 364. So what's left over is a day and a tiny bit. The tiny bit is your pineal gland. The day is the third ventricle of your brain. And that extra day is not counted as a day. We don't call it anything. We don't do anything. You spend your entire year in preparation for the 365th day, which is your day to God. So he does everything for us for 364 days, right? We just ride on his brilliant coattails for 364 days. And it's just take, and we're just, now we have to give back for one day. Stillness, silence, meditation, fasting. So we're no food, and we are just very, very meditative, and we operate out of the feeling and the sentiment of gratitude. We're grateful for who we are, for our creation, for our family, for our friends, for people like yourself and your passion for telling the truth, teaching the truth. All of this we're just so powerfully grateful for. So there's no fear in that. And there's power in gratitude. And like I said earlier, the rewards are built into the work you do. And we're rewarded for being grateful to God. And that's Passover. That's the real Easter, not this fake Easter. This is, I just completed a podcast that'll be out on our channel in a couple of days, telling the whole story about the false Easter, which only comes from the Catholic Church. It's an Eastern tradition from the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, the Cabal, the Illuminati. But it was brought to the West by the Catholic Church. And that's the falsehood. It's sickening. And they have us, painting eggs. Ooh, that's children's blood red. The only eggs that the Catholic Church paints are blood red with a golden cross, because the golden cross on it is T for Tammuz, not the cross of Christ. And that's a separate podcast on Nimrod, Ishtar, Queen Ishtar, and Tammuz. Oof, separate. But the real Easter is Passover, and Passover is where we have the Grim Reaper pass over our house. The house is your head. The house is right here, from the sphenoid bone right here above. Right there is where the Ark of the Covenant is. That's it. It's literally provable. You can see it. It's in there, and the wings of the cherubim, which are the cerebrum, the left and right hemispheres of your brain that fold over, they make the roof of the Ark of the Covenant. Your temples make the strong walls. The sphenoid bone makes the strong base. And what does the Ark of the Covenant hold? And that's everything. That's the seat of your soul. That's the third ventricle of the brain. That's the optic thalamus, pineal gland up and to the right, pituitary gland down and to the bottom. So we are the light of the world, because all of us are Christ Jesus. All of us are Buddha. All of us are Krishna. All of us are Zarathustra. All of us are Horus. We're all Jesus Christ. And that is the light of the world, the optic thalamus. God signified with the pineal gland, Mary signified with the pituitary gland, and it all exists within the Ark of the Covenant, which is right here. Temples. And then where is the cup of Christ that holds all of this? The cup of Christ is from your blood-brain barrier here. And as your spine transcends from a physical spine here to the brain stem here, the brain stem is the stem of the cup of Christ. And then this whole magical section of the Ark of the Covenant is the actual cup part. And this is where, that's why it says that our cup must runneth over. And so the cup is the cup of Christ within us. And you just look at a cross section, a side view of the brain, you'll see the cup of Christ within you. And it holds the Ark of the Covenant, which is you, which is the essence of you, which is the third ventricle of the brain. So, and how does this all relate back to the coronavirus and stuff? This is what we've been teaching and sharing on a whole host of other channels as well, Billy, and we're just sharing this message. Why are we all falling for this right now? And why are we all so ignorant? Why are we all being fooled? Because we don't have God, goodliness, righteousness, virtuousness within us. If you knew anything about the real God, not this, praise Jesus and praise Jesus. Jesus never existed. He's not a real man that was in the Holy Land with Pedro and, Juan and these other Spanish names like Jesus Christos, wandering around the Holy Land 2,000 years ago. It's a story. It's an allegory of the journey of the chrism oil within you. And that's the exact journey that the chrism oil takes, is what's in the pages of the Bible. And that's who Jesus Christ is. We cannot take these stories literally. They're allegories about us. And when you learn these stories of Jesus Christ to come and save you, he is, but it's inside of you. And if you don't go inside of you, if you don't do any work to put oil in your lamp, if you're not taking care of the temple of the body and the mind inside of you, if you're not the shepherd of the Garden of Eden and making sure that those 4 alkaline rivers are flowing with perfect strength and alkalinity, then you're dying. Because in this world, you don't get a middle ground in this physical reality. You're either living or you're dying. You're either alkaline or you are acidic. You're either goodly, godly, or you are evil and you are the devil. That's all. God is not the name of God. God is just an allegory for good. Devil is not a real person. No such thing as a devil. It's just, again, an allegory for evil. And that's the right hemisphere of the brain versus the left hemisphere of the brain. 10% left, 90% right. Where does the ego exist? The ego can only exist within the left hemisphere of the brain. God, the mercy seat, Santa Claus, it's all here in the right hemisphere of your brain. And what does it take to be righteous, to go to the right? It's as simple as your breathing. And so when you just become conscious and you take back the control of yourself by taking long, slow, deep breaths and meditation to, again, slow your rate of brain waves down. Everything that they do is designed to keep you beta. That's why when there is a new software out there and there's always a beta version, you see my hand going crazy, out of control. This is what beta waves are. And they give you for free. Do you want a free beta version of my software, this new program? It's not finished yet, but we got a beta version. Yeah, you know why they give it for free? Because it drives you crazy. It makes you crazy because it's filled with bugs and errors on purpose to drive you crazy. Everything that they do, like the coronavirus, is to scare you, because when you're afraid, what are the only brain waves that exist? Beta, going crazy. And when you start to control your breathing, long, slow, deep breaths, then you transcend yourself in the moment from beta down to alpha, theta, delta, and then the whole goal is to achieve gamma and epsilon, which is, hey man, are you even alive? Pushing somebody, are you even alive? Yeah, I am. I'm just in epsilon brainwaves. Leave me alone, man. I'm talking with God. That's how it all happens. It's amazing. So everything they do, and you can't just think about this, folks. You want to try and put down what I'm sharing with you here. That's everything that they do is to keep you in fear, because that's beta brainwaves, your brain cannot still itself. You cannot enter into the right when you cannot connect with God when you have beta, and everything that they do, beta. Watch, what does Hollywood do? Beta shows. I want to watch Netflix. There's always something good on Netflix. What does Netflix do? Beta. I want to listen to a new song now. They control all the music, right? All the music now is all controlled by the cabal. What are you listening to? Beta. It's just all beta to keep you away from God. And if we had that sense of God, this is what I wanted to share with everyone. I'll pass it back over to you, Billy, is this. With the coronavirus, if you understood that you are the miracle of all creations, that the human body is, and the human mind, the two temples, are the creation. That's what astrology is telling you. Astrology is all about you. It's just human physiology. The Holy Land, the way it's shaped, is just telling about you. All of the ancient spiritual texts, like the Bible, they're all just talking about you. It's all code for you. Insert your name here. Moses, Noah, John, insert your name here. It's all about you. It's because we are the pinnacle. For whatever reason, we are the pinnacle of God's creation. The human body and mind is the greatest creation. And so if you just knew that, if you had a sense of trust and relationship with God via meditation, then when the coronavirus comes along, what would you do? You would laugh. It's funny. Well, Charlie, that's sick. People are dying from this, Charlie. No, they're not. I guarantee you they're not. 60,000 people have died from it. No, they haven't. Some people may have died from the flu, but why do people die from the flu? Because they ingest toxins all the time, right? And because they're spraying chemtrails everywhere. And those heavy metals, which go through the blood-brain barrier and roost home in the two cerebrum of your brain and shut it down so you can't think, and you have dementia and Alzheimer's and all these things. It's just because you're poisoned. It's just because you're filled with toxins. Nobody's dying from the flu, right? The Spanish flu in 1918, it killed all these. No, it didn't. The flu, it's because these people are already sick. And it was 1918, 4 years of World War I. Fear, rations, no food. And they're just eating the wrong things, and they're sick. And that's when people die. So if you know that God's creation is real and that he made us to be the most perfect, strongest, powerful creations that exist, you'll laugh at these things because you're bulletproof, and you are. That's what they're showing you in the Matrix. You literally can get to a point where you can simply say to a police officer's bullet, no, and it'll stop and it'll drop in front of you. That is not necessarily just an allegory. That's actually literal. We control all of this because all of this isn't even real in a real sense. We're energy, and this is just our energy coalesced in a very slow vibration to make it look like it's solid. We control everything from our thoughts. That's why Christ says, take no thought for your life. If you think for yourself, where we fell from heaven, that's the eating the apple from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's a metaphor. It just means that's when we thought for ourselves out of the left brain for the first time. When we thought for ourselves, we fell from the grace of God's singularity to our world, which is a duality. Everything is a polarity of dualities, right? Everything is a polarity of duality. Light, darkness, on, off, above, below, male, female, magnetism, electricity, left, right. Everything is structured this way because we fell from the singularity to the duality. And now to get back, we just have to become pure. We have to become the shepherds of the 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden inside of us. And again, if you know this, and if you know that God is alive inside of you and that you are more powerful than anything, then when they say coronavirus, you just smile, because what's it supposed to do to me? I'm not better than anybody else. I'm just me, but I'm a child of God, and that makes me superhuman. That makes me super strong. But what's the message within organized society, Billy? You know that. Every movie, every cartoon, every show, everything from the government, it's our fault. It's our fault. We're weak. We need vaccines. No, we don't. God is vaccine. And all of these Christians, I love Jesus and hallelujah, Jesus, but give me my vaccine because God and Jesus aren't powerful enough to stop, like a bacteria. I need that. Give me that vaccine. Jesus is great. He's not that great. Give me that vaccine. What are you? We're perfect. We're brilliant. We're strong beyond description. When you know it, you are. When you doubt it, you're not. When you're weak, you're not. You're a victim. And that's what they've turned us into, as victims. Sorry for all of that.
That's all right. I like hearing you go, basically, this is why I said you're more of a holistic teacher than most of the truthers out there. I was wanting to briefly mention how you're talking about fear, so I'm not exactly sure what you think about 5G and how they're saying that the radiation from that on these towers can displace the oxygen, and it can create people passing out and pneumonia, which they're going to say looks as corona disease, but it's actually this 5G. So David Icke went into all this a couple of days ago, and he got taken off. They allowed the full YouTube video to finish, and then they got removed, which kind of gives it more publicity. And he was coming at it, well, rise up. And to me, although he's talking a lot of truth, he doesn't talk about things like QAnon, which, is hopeful right now, and people should be aware of. If he's in the conspiracy circles for so long, he should be praising Trump and for what's going on with the paedophiles, especially because he's exposing them. And now in the BBC News yesterday, there was a news article, YouTube taking off any links between 5G and coronavirus because of this David Icke video. So do you think he's like part of the white hats and trying to help people, or is he like you call gatekeeper or something like that? Have you got any thoughts on him and what he's saying?
Yeah, Billy, 5G is real because, of course, what we truly are in our essential form are magnetic electrical beings. So anything that comes in electrical waves or magnetic pulses is going to affect us. And in fact, when you look at any of the outbreaks over the years, starting with the Spanish flu in 1918, and then continuing on through World War II, the Vietnam conflict, all of these things, every time organized society rolled out a new form of invisible wave or invisible pulse in various forms, it's always coincided with one of these huge outbreaks in flus or diseases that have caused a lot of people to die. So for sure, it's real and it's a concern. The thing that is very, very disturbing, to say the least, amongst the truth community is that there are so many, and it's always the biggest names in the truth community, those with the biggest subscribership, followers, etc. And they focus on these kinds of things, the imminent dangers, chemtrails. They won't give up on 9/11. They don't see what 9/11 was all about or take anything resembling the truth from it, but they keep haranguing on it. And another one is 5G, and it's the 5G monster boogeyman coming to get us. And of course, again, it is real. It is a concern. But what no one in the truth community seems to want to talk about is that because these are electrical waves or a combination of electrical waves and magnetic pulses, it means that we are actually in control by the thoughts we take and the state that we keep our brains, because our brains, which control our bodies as well, the two temples, are being controlled essentially from, as we talked earlier, the third ventricle of our brain. And the breathing that we practice, the state of mind that we keep within ourselves, is completely determining our reality, and there's nothing that anyone else can do about it. They can influence our decisions. They can influence our behavior by the things that we see around us. So if they constantly are showing you fear, 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 and even just fearful colors, disturbing sounds, all of these things, these can lead you towards dropping out of a relaxed state. So let's go just really quickly again through the brainwave. So what we don't want, but this is where most human beings, the masses, find themselves, is in beta. Beta is exactly where you do not want your brain waves to be, because that is a high electrical frequency that is running fast, up and down, inconsistently, up and down, up and down, up and down. And you cannot calm yourself. You cannot still your mind. You are not conscious of your breathing. Therefore, you're not conscious of yourself. You're not living in the only thing that truly can exist, which is the moment. Again, as we talked, linear time is an illusion. There's no such thing as the past or the coming future. All there can be is the now. And then the thing about these beta brainwaves, they take you out of the now. And all you do is you spend your time considering what you think is the past and worrying about what you think may come in the future. Past and future, no now. And the only thing that can exist is the now. Where your power exists is in the now. And no one in the truth community tells you this. So with 5G, all you would have to, and it doesn't matter what we do, we can't stop people from projecting these invisible waves. They do it with TV and radio. Again, the first time that radio waves were emitted worldwide, huge health problems. So constantly, we're seeing these things with these invisible waves. And again, what's important to teach everyone and understand is this, that when we control our minds via the breaths we take and the thoughts that we do or don't take, then we are in control, because we stay in the moment, in the now. And the now is the only reality that truly exists. And so nothing that they do, this 5G cannot affect you if you are conscious of you in the now. That's all you have to do, is remain calm, focused, controlling your breathing in the now, controlling your thoughts, taking no thoughts from your left brain. Don't let them trick you, trap you in your left carnal dime brain. Stay in the right hemisphere of the brain. Deep, long, deep, slow breaths. Stay connected to God, and nothing can harm you or hurt you. Not 5G, 6G, 7G, 8G. And no one wants to tell you that. They just want to get subscribers and maybe a little money along the way by scaring the shit out of you. And again, that's a real problem. And then you were just talking about the interview recently with David Icke and his response with regard to the coronavirus and whatnot, and that sort of bigger interview in London in the UK. And again, you know, it's typical with David Icke and these bigger names in the truth community. What Collywog and I kind of see them as drug peddlers, because what they do is they give you little tastes of the truth to lead you on, and to give you a sense that, you know, wow, they're something else because they're telling the truth. But it's always just bits and pieces. It's always very, very limited. And in David Icke's recent interviews regarding coronavirus, he's telling some truth, yes, and he spoke quite passionately and truthfully in some aspects of it. But there's a host of things that he did not touch upon, a ton of truth that he could have shared with people but didn't. And of course, there's no hope in any of this. And then, as you brought up, he has now joined the bandwagon with so many others of being utterly dismissive of the existence of Q, or the idea that Donald Trump is part of the White Hats, and that Trump and Q are part of this military operation to take down this evil, which, again, all you would have to do is your own research, and you'll find that it isn't coming. It's here now. They've been doing it all along, and it's only escalating every single day and week. It's just more and more and more. But, you know, you would have to actually do research. And to be quite honest, most of the people in the truth community don't really seem that interested in doing their own research. So if you can hear it from a trusted name in the truth community, somebody with 200,000 subscribers or something, well, they're telling you the truth, of course, because they've got 200,000 subscribers. So again, these big names like Max Egan and Mark Passio and David Icke and Crow 777, they're drug peddlers, and they are peddling a little bit of truth and a ton of shit, and it leads people nowhere. You're not going to ever unless these people change, they're never going to lead you to the promised land, to the holy land of milk and honey. You are never ever going to ascend your consciousness, exalt yourself up into the higher mind and live heaven upon earth through these people. They have no interest in having you do anything except stay weak and connected to the little bits of truth serum that they drop to you, like these little pellets every single week. The stuff that from time to time when we drop in and listen, the stuff that they're sharing is alarming. And basically, most of these people that I just mentioned, again, biggest amount of subscribers, and these are the ones that are coining money within the truther community. All of this group of people, they're the ones that are speaking the most opinion. And again, as we discussed earlier in our show with you today, Billy, I don't like to share my opinion with anyone on anything, because left to myself, my opinion isn't worth a brass farthing. It isn't. It isn't. Of myself, of my left brain, I live on the valley floor and I can't see past the next ridge. Why would you want my opinion on anything? I'm just as flawed as the next person. But when I exalt myself, when I raise myself up into the bird brain, into the blue sky, the blue heaven, in the higher mind, in my head, when I go up and to the right, when I connect with God via meditation, I'm tapping in to everything, and I don't have to ask. There's no words spoken. There are no requests. It all just flows. What did Pete Townsend say in the brilliant Who song Naked Eye? Press any button, milk and honey flows. But you have to be in the right state of mind. You have to be in the right mind to be able to press any button. It doesn't matter which one you press, and milk and honey flows. Milk and honey, again, coding chrism oil, but this is like tapping into the Akashic record. It is just part of the magnetic electrical ether, where we know everything all at once, because we are connected with the Creator who created everything all at once. So we tap into that, but you have to be in the right brain. These people within the truth community, so many, the vast majority, are so deep in their left brains. And again, there is no salvation coming. There are no answers. There is no salvation coming through these people. And you got to pay for that second hour, because that first hour just isn't really all that good or anything like that. But that second hour, wow, that's going to be the real good hour. That's when we're going to drop one or two more of those little truth pellets in amongst all of the other bullshit that we fertilize the ground with. So I'm really glad that you brought that up about David Icke, and some people may take offense to what I'm saying, and David over the years has shared some very powerful things with us. And to that, anytime that anybody speaks the truth in any kind of holistic or meaningful way, I applaud that to no end. And there are certainly some things that Collywog and I have enjoyed from David Icke, but really what I want to say is shame on David Icke, shame on Max Egan, shame on Mark Passio, shame on Crow 777, shame on Jordan Maxwell, if I hadn't mentioned him already. Shame on all of these people who know better. They absolutely do know better. And what they do is they give little bits and pieces of the truth, and then they're just peddling shit. So in all intents and purposes, they are kind of like drug dealers, stringing people along for the next little nugget. And that isn't how Collywog and I function. That isn't how Santos Bonacci or Josh X function. What we do is we speak from beginning to end the holistic truth. Everything that we are saying connects to all other things and explains all things in every single moment, because it all comes from someone who has perspective from the mountaintop and who can see everywhere in every single direction, and that's the Creator. That's our one true Father. And that's all I'm interested in, is getting things right. I don't want credit for it, and I don't need any notoriety or anything like that. It isn't about me. It's about this journey to ascension, and it's about helping as many people along the way. So again, thanks for that, Billy. I really appreciate you bringing that up, because at the end of the day, David Icke doesn't speak to anything that is of the highest importance. He really doesn't. He stayed clear of flat Earth, and that's despicable. He stayed clear of again, then that means he stays clear of Tesla and the ether and magnetic electrical energy, and he's staying away from magnetism. That's the scalar waves, which is eternal energy, that 0 point energy that Tesla talked about. You just plug into it in the atmosphere, and then once you start your generator, it just goes and goes, because magnetic waves, scalar waves, are the number 8, and they never dissipate and they never end. Once you start them, they just continue. And that's why organized society, universities doesn't teach about magnetism. There's nothing in our society about magnetism. Most people simply know that magnets have 2 poles. And that's a travesty. That's a crime. And David Icke, again, doesn't deal with diet at all. And just look at him. He's crippled by eating meat, dairy, and eggs. Can barely move himself, can barely move his hands. Why? Because he's a frugivore and he's trying to be a carnivore. So at the end of the day, do you really want to be getting your truth from someone who can't keep themselves healthy and isn't addressing the biggest and most important issues within the truth community itself? So with that, I will say good night to you, Billy, and to everyone, and thank you very, very much for having me on the show. I enjoyed it very, very much. And what I'll leave you with is ultimately what Colleen and I would love to share with everyone is care for everyone, and we love everyone, and we want to help everyone the best we can. And what our message to that end is you've got to know yourself. You need to do your research, and you need to know, because the more you know about yourself, you're going to find out that you are a miracle creation beyond what a ridiculous story, evolution, that there was nothing, and then suddenly in an instant moment, a violent explosion out there was everything, but there was nothing, but then there's everything. And now all these systems run in perfect synchronicity with one another, and we're all connected, and it's just beautiful and elegant beyond description. But there's no God. Wow, come on. There's a creator to this. Whatever you want to call God, it's okay. But what I'm sharing with you is God is within you, and all that Colleen and I do is virtually most of the wisdom that we possess and we share. It comes from within us. It comes from the meditation that we do. And then stuff, this is how it is. And it's amazing. We do this with Santos, we do this, Santos Bonacci, we do this with Josh X. It's just like we have these conversations and stuff, and it's just like, oh, you know what downloaded to me? And it was just, I was working outside, I was with the animals, and then suddenly it just came to me, and it's like, oh my God, wow, that's incredible. And that's what it's like. That's what it's like when you give up the left brain and taking thought for yourself. Dan of the North, the lost tribe of Israel, yeah, they're lost because they tried to think for themselves. We have to get rid of the crucifixion. Is not on a cross. The crucifixion is saying to God, please take that dying brain away from me. Take that left brain. Take my independent thought away. And I just want to, I'm tired of being wrong through most of my life, just wrong about everything, making the wrong choices. I just want to be right. And I don't want to take any credit for it, none at all. I just want to be right. I just want to be happy. And that all comes from going to the right. It all comes from living a virtuous life. Just in every moment, folks, breathe, but breathe slowly and deeply, and do what's right. Don't worry about the economic consequences of helping somebody or doing something virtuous instead of ripping somebody off because you really need that money. No, we're all energy. When you rip somebody off, it'll be ripped back from you. He who lives by the sword will die by the sword. It is written. That is the nature of our reality. That is the karma. And John Lennon said, instant karma. It is. It's our instant karma. What you reap, what you sow, you will reap. That is our reality. So when you are goodly, godly, righteous, helping others, giving, and then receiving, instead of take, don't be a carnivore, then you're filled with the light. You're filled with the light of God. That's your reward. And that light, think about this. This is Billy started off the show by saying that Charlie likes the holistic truth, right? Okay. You have to understand these words holistically. What does light mean? To be filled with God's light. Light, okay? So we all think that it's bright as opposed to darkness. So light, bright. But light is also not heavy. And when you're light, what do? You rise. You rise up to heaven instead of darkness, heaviness, and you fall down to hell. And I'll leave you with this. If you look at litmus paper, you'll notice that in the middle of litmus paper is what we're supposed to be. Homeostasis is green. The earth is green, right about 7.3, because 7, and your litmus paper going from 0 to 14, and in the center green is 7, balance, harmony, homeostasis. Above is blue. It's blue colors, and if you go high, really high, it becomes purple. Your 6th in-body chakra, the ajna, is a blue chakra. Your 7th crown chakra, which is the completion of our 7 chakras, which exists just above you on the crown of your head, is purple. That's where purple rain comes from, purple bliss. Prince, I don't know all to know about Prince, but his songs, he was just thinking about Jesus Christ, chrism oil, raising consciousness, awareness, all these meditation. That's what he was singing about. Purple rain is when you elevate yourself, ascend yourself by going within and connect with God. And then it's a beautiful purple rain, because that's your 7th crown chakra, which is purple. And that's litmus paper. When you go up in alkalinity, it's blue like the sky. Heaven is in the sky, it's blue. And then the crown chakra is purple. When you go down with litmus paper, it gets red, and really red, and then really blood red. And that's acidic. When you eat or take acidic thoughts, you're driving your essence down into hell. Hell is red, and it's down. I'm not making this stuff up. The litmus paper itself will show you. Hell is red and it's down. Heaven is blue to the purple crown, and it rises. Alkalinity, you rise. Raw foods. A vegan is not eating a Bill Gates brand hamburger. It's processed foods. Flour is dead. There's no health factor to you whatsoever. You don't eat flour. You don't cook your food. It takes perfectly alkaline food and makes it acidic. You eat raw food. You're a frugivore. When you fill yourself up with meditation and the light of God, then light is light. It rises. You rise when you're light. Light is bright, and you have might, and you have fight, because you have no fright, and you're high as a kite, because that's light, and you rise. So I'll leave you with that, buddy, and thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Charlie. Much appreciated.
Namaste to you and everyone.
If you want to check out Charlie, folks, you can find him on Freaksense TV on YouTube. Check that out. Thanks very much for your time. Ian Henry's mentioned a book about a raw fruit diet by Dr. Robert Morose, if you want to check that out. But I'd recommend getting in more of Charlie. Thanks very much for your time, and bye-bye, folks. Cheers.
Thanks, Billy. See you, everyone.
See ya.